according to this computer. You should be getting a message now.
And now, are you going to make me host or?
I'm going to host you. Hold on. There we go. Make host. All right. Maria, you are officially host. I am here. Hello, everyone. Or not everyone. I don't want to say hello to everyone. I just want to say hello to the people who are watching and viewing at this moment. I guess, what the hell? Let's say hello to everyone. I am in the car currently, which means I don't have all my screens in front of me. I do have the service outline right
there. Who's driving?
I am in Los Angeles. Yesterday was an amazing day. Yesterday, my son turned 16 years old, which is great. And I got to sleep in a hotel room bed with him last night, which is the very first night he was born. I sat in the hospital and just had him on my legs the entire night and just staring at him, wondering what has my life now become. And I just got to share a bed with him, and it felt wonderful. We are down in Los Angeles because Emmett's favorite uncle, Uncle Bob, is turning 65 and has a party tonight. And as a gift to Uncle Bob and to Emmett, but Uncle Bob didn't know, we came down to Los Angeles last night so that we could surprise Uncle Bob, and Uncle Bob was surprised. So please bear with technical difficulties as they are certain to happen today. I want to thank Maria for playing the role of technology wizard. So thank you, Maria. And everyone else who has co-hosted at this moment, I thank all of those people. And I really am hoping that I'm not missing. Oh yeah, well, I am missing some. So Ron and Jess, good morning. Thank you also for your help. Thank you everyone who's here. So glad to see all of you. I want to start with a story. Well, first let me take a moment and do I have prepared my story. I know what the story is going to be. Let me just take a moment and look at your faces and say good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Morning. Morning.
Good morning. I'm so glad to see you. I think about this service like all the other 6 days too. I'm so delighted that you're here. If I can do it right, I'm going to try to show off technology-wise that everyone is here. Oh, Saturday service, religion outside the box. Come on, do the Zoom thing. There it is. There's everyone. Everyone, would you wave and we won't go back to this view again? Okay, good morning. Glad you're all here. I want to tell you a story. On Thursday, there we are, we're back. Thursday, I have a former student. She's now 24 years old. I met her and when she was Emmett's age. She was a sophomore in high school, and she was my student. And I got a message from her mom on social media saying, could you please get in touch with this gal? Her brother, my son, just got hit by a car and died.
Oh.
So I sent a message. I said, hey, if you are looking for a rabbi, you got one. I'm here. And we texted for a while back and forth. And she said, will life ever go back to normal? And of course, I wrote back, no. But I get to be a bit of counsel. And she says, would you meet me for a coffee? Of course. So I meet her for a coffee in North Portland, Mississippi. And I'm sitting there and we're chatting, and it's a conversation, right? And she and here I can sum up some of the backstory where she says, ironically, Asher was sober 32 days when he got hit by the car. Which just, like life, yeah, oi, let's have a wailing. And while we're sitting there, this guy walks past our table, because that's what you do in coffee shops. And he walks past our table a few times to go get something. And then he's leaving and he stops and stands right above our table, like waiting for that invitation to be included. And so we look up and he says, I'm gonna the funniest joke I've ever heard. I'd like to tell it to you right now.
Only in L.A.
No. This was Portland.
Oh.
And say, okay, right? Because that was the best thing I could think of saying at the time. I say, okay. And he says, it's a knock-knock joke, but you need to start it. Now, if you know this joke, it goes like this. Hey, Joe.
Yeah?
I have a knock-knock joke.
Okay. Knock, knock.
Okay. Yeah, I need you to start it. Would you do that?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Rabbi
And
Brault.
that's the joke, right? And that was the joke that this gentleman chose to tell us as the funniest joke he has ever heard. He tells a joke, he sets up a joke that's going to leave me being the guy flustered on the other end of the joke. Well, that's not going to happen, right? Because I know my jokes. So he says, you start it, knock, knock. And I'll play it out again, Joe. So,
Knock, knock.
No, you have to say it to me because you're him. So you say knock, knock.
Knock, knock.
Who's there? Oh, no, I screwed it up. You did it totally right. Okay, bad Rabbi.
I don't know who's there.
You start knock, knock. So I'm going to be him. You be me. So I have a really funny knock, knock joke. You have to start it.
Okay.
Knock, knock.
Knock, knock.
Oh, wait, shit.
No.
Reverse it.
You have to start.
I like to prove to people as a rabbi that it's really important to be human. And
yes,
fail
He's
terrific at it.
working very
I
well.
am
Right.
terrific at this. So who
You
starts
are.
the joke now?
You do.
Joe
You
starts
do.
the joke. Joe, I started. Knock, knock.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's how it goes.
Who's
Knock, knock.
there? Who's there?
Right, so that's how he has me started. So I'm me, you're him. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Control freak. Now, what I'd like you to do is to say control freak who, but I'd like you to say it in a question as though you don't know the answer.
Control freak who?
Okay, that was actually the joke there, Joe. That was actually yeah, okay.
That was great, Joe.
What?
It's a good joke.
Well
I'd
done,
like you to
Joe.
pause a little more before
No.
you say control freak. Okay, so he does this. Oh, and ironically, somebody has to get in the car to get their sunglasses. Say hi, Jane.
Hi, everybody.
Good morning.
Hi.
I told her she's like a yeti. When you guys get to see her, it's very exciting.
Very excited.
Yep.
So, he leaves, and she and I both say, "What the hell was that?" Like, you're gonna tell a knock-knock joke to random people sitting at a coffee table, and you're gonna tell a joke where you're gonna make the other person look like an ass? Like, come on. And I was complaining about this to many people, as is my way. You wouldn't believe this thing that happened, and I tell the story. And my friend Lyndon said, perhaps, watch this. So most of you are on my side that this guy was kind of out of place and like, listen. And she says, perhaps he overheard some of the conversation the two of you were having. And perhaps he thought, this is really heavy. And perhaps he thought, what can I do to help? And perhaps he thought, I'll tell a joke. And perhaps he thought, I'll tell that really funny joke that I just heard where I have the other person start the joke. And in came compassion. Stick with that because that's going to be our theme. It's also going to go back to 2 weeks ago. And if you weren't here 2 weeks ago, we had somebody come in and run services, and we were filled with our interpretation of what it was that person meant. and we're so filled with our interpretation of that's what that person meant, that we might have missed looking from all sides with compassion and see, well, oh, you understand that part. Let me get to the next piece here. You all see this? The little sign? Don't read it out loud, please.
No.
Show it again.
Lovely.
Can you
Backwards.
I never.
Is it backwards?
Okay.
No, it's
Oh,
good.
no, it's correct.
Oh,
Okay.
I am backwards.
So there's okay. There should be
Way to
7
go,
words
Bob.
on the index.
Yeah.
7 words there.
Yes,
And-
correct.
Depending on how we read that sentence, how many of you would think that most people on the screen, and the answer should be most, how many of you would think that most people have the same understanding of these 7 words that you have? And most of us would assume that we all understand the same words. But listen to how this can be said. I never said I stole the money. I never said I stole the money. I never said I stole the money. All drastically different interpretations of the same 7 words. Guy
I never
shows up
said
at a
I stole the
coffee
money.
shop.
I never said
Say-
I
say that.
stole the money.
Yeah.
That's
There are
fine.
at least 7 different ways of doing this. Yeah. There's lots of ways of saying this. So perhaps the person who said something really rude, maybe that wasn't what they were intending to say. There?
You're an asshole.
I'm going to take that, Rob, with the greatest compliment. Because I'm
Okay.
assuming that's how you meant it. I'm not quite sure exactly how to take it that way, but I'm going to take it that way.
Well, good for
This
you.
is-
Because it can't be taken that way.
all right. So it looks like this. I'm going to ask us to do what we've done
Pluses
before.
and minuses. Yes.
We're going to do pluses and minuses. I'm going to get rid of this sign so I have a little bit more space here. We're going to do pluses and minuses. And we're going to say if we change and if we don't change. And my question for today is assuming kindness. What are the benefits? What are the detriments of us always assuming the other person, whether they've seen it or not, is trying to be as kind as possible? So the hypothesis is that we all have the ability to be as kind as possible. And that, let's look at it, and we're going to miss some things, obviously, but let's look at it and see if we choose to be as kind as possible, if we choose to not to be as kind as possible, but to assume kind intent. If we assume kind intent from people as much as possible, whenever possible, what are our outcomes going to look like?
It's a positive world.
So if you change and you start to assume that everyone, even Rob, when he says you're such an asshole, is trying to be
I
kind.
didn't use the word such.
If we, the rabbi, in trying to recount what it is that Rob said, is trying as best as he can.
You're funny.
I'm funny. Let me take a little time out on that one and just say, hey, truth is funny. Stand-up comics are funny. Point out truth. Let's try this one. Kindness. Well, let's do that. What's going to be the downside if we start assuming that everyone is trying to be as kind as possible, everyone is trying to be kind, even the asshole who stops by your table and interrupts the flow of conversation to tell you a knock-knock joke in which you look like an asshole, and you find out that even that person was trying, what do I lose? What's something?
Flow.
What do I lose?
You lose
Thrill
flow.
of judgment.
Self-righteousness.
Wait, I lose self-righteousness. Yeah. Okay, we're not gonna show hands, so nobody except for me is seeing all your hands, and all of you is in your hands. How many of you are okay with losing some self-righteousness?
Oh, yeah, big time.
A bit.
Who cares?
Absolutely.
I like that some of you are like, nah. I kind of really like my self-judgment. I like judging other people. Can I hear from any of those honest people?
I missed the question. I'm sorry.
That was a good
No.
Derek.
Are you? So if we are going to be kind and look that other people are trying to be kind, we're going to lose our ability to be judgmental about them.
Right.
And my question is, can I hear from an honest person who's willing to talk about the fact that, no, I don't want to give up my righteous indignation. No, I don't want to give up my ability to be offended by what someone else said. I like that stuff. Can I hear from somebody who agrees on that position?
It depends on what's being said.
Thank you, thank you, Ray. It depends on what's being said. Okay.
Context.
Can you think of it? Let's try that one again.
I said it's the context of the matter, and also you're saying like you give up your self-righteousness, but you're also giving up self-protection.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Wait. I'm at the coffee shop, and either way, the guy's standing over my table and looking for me to say, what's up? And he says, I want to tell you a joke. Now, I'm protected either way. I get to say that man was an asshole only if I hold on to the judgment.
No, but when you say you're assuming, if you assume everyone, if you want to say everyone is being kind, or you want to look at it that way, in that regard, you can then open yourself up to people with nefarious purposes because you're not protecting yourself. And
okay, I hear
so
you.
that's where context comes in and why people are more guarded because
True. Thank you. We we
That's
don't want to be kind.
We're supposed to shout out people who are making racist comments. We're supposed to point out when the things that they're saying are harmful.
Correct. So maybe I should have, right, in hindsight, I replayed it and I thought maybe I could have said, hey, we're having a private intimate right now. Appreciate you. The door's that way. But I didn't think of saying that at the time.
I would have been rude.
What? Go ahead, Jess.
I was just gonna go with what other folks are saying. By othering people, I keep myself isolated from having to be vulnerable and accept if someone's coming to me with an open heart, even if the context is weird with a knock-knock joke, with maybe an appropriate context. If I other that person, I keep them pushed away. I don't have to just be vulnerable with them.
Correct.
And if you are kind.
Yeah, I was going to say that probably even a bigger
and then I got you,
protection.
Folks, let me take a time out. So I'm on a bit of a delay. The technology's wrong, but I also want to live by my morals and principles, which is to compliment when I can, which is thank you guys for taking your time and dealing with the fact that we're on a slight delay. So let's hear from Al and then from Jack.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that if I give up the feeling of the sense that I'm right all the time, I have to process my feelings.
Yeah.
Like I have to go
if
inside
I give
and
up
feel
that
what
I'm
I'm
right
feeling.
all the time, I have to process my feelings.
Yeah, I can't like just protect my feelings. I can't just pretend my feelings don't exist by saying, well, that person was wrong. That person's an asshole.
Yeah.
I have to process my feelings. And that's hard. Sometimes I don't have time for that.
You don't have time. We don't make time for that.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you, Al. Thank you, Al. And folks, look, there's no answer to it, but it's this discussion that we're having that's helping us to learn and to learn from each other, which is just lovely. Jack, go ahead, and then Michael.
Yeah, if you're thinking kind and respond to him by saying thank you, then you lose the blame. You lose the blame that you would normally give to a person like that, because saying thank you for whatever it is, it removes the feeling that.
It get a little messy, but I was thinking that I was being kind. Stick with me for a moment. I was thinking I was being kind by being civil and polite, as opposed to being, I could have leaned a little bit more into honest. And it flashes me back, and I want to be careful to not talk too much about things that happened in the past because we're here in the here and now. But a few weeks ago, when Pastor Robert said things and nobody said, hey, I'm uncomfortable with what you're saying, and we were polite, and by being as a group polite, we kind of collude against kind of lie to somebody. And I was being polite to the guy in the coffee shop, which was kind of lying. What if I could have tapped in more honestly, I would have been with my honest feelings of this is not the time.
Yeah.
But I was trying to be kind and nice.
Polite to him, but not to the woman you were counseling.
Yeah.
That's exactly right, Carol. Right. And I was polite to him at the moment. It was a weird moment. It was a weird moment. Yeah, Michael, go ahead.
I've been in a similar situation where an old guy walks up to a table of me and there's, I don't know, 5 other women that I work with. And he's telling a really off joke, right? But I also know it's a small community and he has dementia and there's a reason for it. So there's, in your context though, it's tough, right? It depends how you feel. And I've, you know, I'm in a small town. It's different than living in the city. But what if he was like, you know, an angel? What if he was the ghost of the lost brother and he didn't really know how to communicate, right? And it was just a message.
That's where the, right. So the ultimate compassion can come up is I can be compassionate to him. But then we get back to this question, was I being compassionate to myself? Was I being compassionate to my young friend? So I think like it's great. Let's all have a bumper sticker that says more kindness, but then we're going to have footnotes explaining exactly to whom we need to be kind and when. Yeah. And let's just make it easier and not be kind to anyone. Okay, no, let's not do that.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, and that happens though. But that also begs the question: why aren't you being kind to yourself? Like, where are those feelings coming from? I wonder.
Right. Good.
I would ask. Yes, I got myself a little bit lost there. Let me go back to Al, and then we'll move on. Tip, you had your hand up for a moment. Did you share? No, do you want to share? You put your hand up. You're a big boy. What am I taking care of you? Go ahead, Al, and then Kip, and then Emily.
I was just going to say, in our defense, Pastor Robert did say to us, wait until the end to share your thoughts and feelings. Like, I've got some stuff here. You can jump in if you want to. But he said, you know, if you're able to, hold on till the end.
He did go with both in my listening to the gospel. Go ahead, Kip, and then Emily.
I did take my hand down because you covered what I was wanting to say, but I wanted to really double down on that and point out that you do have to be kind to yourself as well. And that sometimes that being angry at somebody else before what they did, in my experience, it's because I'm angry at myself that I didn't stand up for myself. And it's easier for me to be mad at what they did instead of really being mad at, well, why didn't I stand up and say, I needed a minute and I don't need this right now. And so
right.
understanding where that goes.
My autopilot is like, just be nice to that person who's interrupting you.
At your cost. And that's not
Not
okay.
only your cost. You were talking to someone who was in great pain, and you prioritized this person you didn't know, who was not in pain, who was just interrupting, and you were prioritizing him over the person you were trying to comfort.
To give fair news, when he left, my young friend and I had a great laugh at the expense of the person who was there. So it does kind of work out. Emily, you had your hand up. Thank you, Kim.
Well, yeah, I think that, when we're caught off guard like that, it's like when we're talking to friends and our child interrupts us, we tell them to now be quiet for I want to finish what I'm saying. Being caught off guard, you can't. It's hard to think quickly.
Correct. Which is this is. Let me just directly say that with full rabbinic authority, we are all going to screw up and not say the right thing at the right time, live in the moment.
Yeah,
sure.
And perhaps Emily's reminder is a good reminder for all of us that we need to take it easy on ourselves. Like let's strive for perfection, but be very kind to ourselves that we're not going to react live well all the time. Take a little compassion. Thank you, Emily. Bruce?
Until you practice.
Yeah. Who just said that about practice?
That was me.
Next time you'll be better and better. And that's part of what this whole discussion is about, is for us to all talk about being kind. What are the limitations? What are the ramifications? When should we? How do we? This is practice. Go ahead, Bruce.
Oh, yeah. Well, from one person in a car to another person in a car, I would say that there's a lot to be said for trying to avoid escalating conflict. You don't know what this guy is about. It's kind of like humoring the guy because you don't want to say, fuck off, asshole, and have him get pissed off and on and on and there. So, I think that was the good, best self-defense kind of way to go. You don't want to escalate confidence. Okay, go away now.
Yeah, agreed.
Sorry. Agreed. And I just made a little smiley off to the side here because there's a woman who looked in at me in my car and was like, yeah. And I did a little social grace of like, yeah, hi, yeah. I'm the crazy ass man in the parking lot with index cards all over the front of his dashboard.
He's talking to himself.
Joe, go ahead.
I just want to point out that I'm hearing people give more grace to the stranger in the cafe than we gave to Pastor Robert 2 weeks ago.
All right, let's hold on to that. Yeah, I've spoken with Pastor Robert. I don't know. Did I tell you guys what he had said to me? I did. He said some very offensive things in his life, but he never imagined that let us bow our heads in prayer would be one of the most offensive things. Right. So let's loop it back because that's why we're on this topic.
Were that many people offended by him?
People were bristled. There was chafing that happened. Some people developed a heat rash from afar. There various levels of, and let's also be compassionate to ourselves, right? Some pretty nasty things have been said by some lookalikes, and it's hard to. We're human. We get triggered. We got triggered. We heard a man with a Southern accent talk about, I want to talk today about Jesus, but I don't want to talk about Jesus, the miracle worker. I want to talk about Jesus, the teacher. Oh, Pastor Roberts got in trouble with his presbytery, by the way, for what he shared with us. So poor man was getting it from both ends.
Why
I do want to
get in trouble
because he wasn't talking about the Jesus he's supposed to be talking about.
Oh, I'll tell you who's
and he also hold on, Carol, one second. He also did make the statement that he does believe that all of us are going to go to heaven. That was that's not in his. That's not in the playbook that he's supposed to be playing from. Go ahead, Carol.
What I saw was not what Pastor Robert said. What I saw was how intolerant this group is. This group is supposed to be religion outside the box, but if someone has a Southern accent, they're all ready to judge them. If somebody says something from a different tradition, instead of saying, what can I learn from it, they're ready to judge them. And I am so disappointed in this group that I'm considering leaving.
Right. Carol, if I may, everyone came back. Like, we're still here. We made, a saint is just a sinner who fell down and got up. We all, I think a lot of people learned and said, oh my, look what I did. So yes, we did do bad. But yes, there's learning to come from it. And I had a meditation teacher. Let me try to squeeze this thought in. I had a meditation teacher, and I used to lay down when I meditated. And I would lay down and meditate, and I'd fall asleep sometimes. And I said to him, Jason, I don't understand what I'm doing here because I'm falling asleep when I'm meditating. And he said, you have to do that. You have to get to past the point where you can be paying attention and meditating to the point where you fall asleep. So you're over the line so you can know where that line is. That sometimes you need to go past that. We go past, I'm not saying to do anything nefarious or immoral, but sometimes we do go past the line, and instead of kicking ourselves for having screwed up, to say, oh, now I can much clearer see where that line was. I'm trying to save us a little bit of faith. Let's go with Rita and then Bob.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just surprised to learn that many people were offended by him. Maybe because I'm from Kentucky. And I was surrounded by all kinds of various Christian perspectives and no other Jewish religion outside the box.
Correct. We made a judgment call wrong, just like I did with the guy at the coffee shop, where I thought his intentions must have been evil, and he might have just been trying to cheer people up. I mean, stupid move, but that was his best move at the time.
Oh yeah. He just, what he said, if the base of what he said had to do with a universal perspective of something bigger than us and
Yeah.
And Jesus as a teacher and healer, which I believe, he was a rabbi. What can I say? He was a good rabbi. He probably got in trouble too. But
and if preachers all know this, that if you're not upsetting people from time to time, you're not doing it right. And that man has no shortage of that, I'm sure. Let's go
if he talks like that in his congregation. I mean, if they probably have a more traditional perspective of Christianity and who Jesus was. But I thought he gave a very universal perspective.
That's exactly our point, is that some people saw I never said I stole the money, and some people heard I never said I stole the money.
Yeah.
Like we're all looking at the same thing but differently. And go ahead, Bob.
I think I think one of the things that we're missing is that we are all a mixed group of people. That we are not all of one faith or another faith or anything like that. We're a mixed group of people, and so in that light, that some of the people may have found some value in what he had to say, and while they might not be the ones that are speaking out about it, that it's a thing of accepting this is what another person feels, this is their path, and they're just sharing it. And
yeah,
so,
that's our whole point of inviting Pastor Robert in and inviting other people in, is to say it's like the story of there are a bunch of monks on a hilltop all pointing to the moon. The important thing's not any one of their fingers. The important thing's the moon. Pastor Robert's just on a different hill with a different finger. Oh, that doesn't sound right, but you understand. Ron, what do you got, bud?
So when my little puppy, Cedar, was 2 months old, he came into my office and he brushed up against a gate that had been out. Something might fall on him. And I agree, my house is a mess. Okay. When I was raised in a holiness background, which was fundamentalism put on steroids. And I had abuse, but it happened over a long period of time. And I grew to recognize people who would abuse me and who were just speaking out of their heart, even if it made no sense. Because of my extensive experience with this sort of stuff that God wants to send you to hell because he hates you, I recognized Pastor Robert as someone who was a good Christian. But if you don't have that, if you've just been whacked really hard by the gate falling on you with no other experience, it's really easy to say, I ain't going there.
Correct. Everyone's got their own experience. Thank you, Ron. I love that you explain triggers and what happened. Alexia.
Oh, I was just gonna say I wasn't. I was out sick for the past 2 weeks, so I honestly have no idea what was going on. But from just listening, it kind of reminds me of customer service, where people who are more upset are more likely to say what's on their mind and like speak out versus the people who weren't upset, basically. So for the people who maybe weren't offended by what was said or done, again, wasn't there, I don't know. But like, it sounds like a lot of people who did speak out were the people who were upset by what was said. And so they're the people who are more likely to reach out are the people who are upset versus people like when they aren't upset, they're more likely to just be like, okay, cool, and just go along with whatever and not feel the need to say anything. And so then you're more likely to get that outpouring of the negativity and everything. So.
We're going to have a skewed data set because the people who are fine. I sometimes do that. Is I'll say to somebody, I'll say, can I speak with your manager? I'd like to confuse them by giving a compliment.
Yeah, we have a customer survey specifically for that reason at my work, because to try to unskew it because of how often people complain versus we're like, well, we actually do a lot more and work with a lot of people, but you're only hearing the complaints.
Right.
So. I feel like that might have something to do with it, that the people who are.
I think that's a whole thing in itself, isn't it? That we tend to prioritize and see the faults more than the parts that are going well. Anyone else think that we tend to skew a little negative?
Yeah.
What's that?
A survival technique.
It is a survival technique. So can you say a little more about that?
Sure. Well, I think evolutionary, we had to develop to be aware of the things that will harm us. And that's what keeps us alive. And so those of us who've been in those bad situations, we tend to stay attuned to the dangers and the stresses, even more so than I think everybody else that even does have a natural inclination to see the bad. Because if you see the lion coming at you, sooner you live. If you just happen to miss the extra ripe apples, you're okay.
Right.
Yeah. Good. Thank you, Kip. Okay, dear folks, we got through the first topic and we're 40 minutes in, so that's good. I feel so. I have a random question here. I grew up in a tradition that did not have communion in it, and I was emailing with someone who was in line to become in their church somebody who would have the honor of giving out the communion. And I don't have much of experience with communion based on my childhood, but this person was really heartbroken that they didn't pass whatever qualification it was to offer communion to the group. And I don't have a lot of baggage from communion. I don't have much to it, but I thought, what a beautiful, and bear with me, right, Rabbi here. I thought, what a beautiful image it is to be able to offer. It's like the grace before a meal, or what it should sound like, where you get to offer to everyone, let's gather together and remember our connectedness. Let's all do the same thing as a sign of our connectedness. Let's all commune, like community, like communal. And I thought, that's a beautiful idea. And so I have just a random question from it, which is there anyone out there and who thinks, I'll sit next to a pregnant woman on an airplane and I wonder what that feels like. Like I'll never get that experience. Anyone else ever wonder or fantasize about this giving communion to a group of people? Is this just like in my own Rabbi fantasy world? Does that seem like that would be fun or meaningful, or is there baggage that comes up with that idea?
It depends totally on which denomination, in my opinion,
you're
coming
from. Personal. Thank you, Ray. I'm not asking about your if your denomination allows it or not, but personally, Ray, would you want to give communion to a group of people?
I'm a deacon. I have given communion, and it's a way of connecting with each of us and with our commitment and our missions at the church. To me, that's what.
And so it is a fulfilling. It's a fulfilling
for
feeling.
Me, it is. For me, it is.
Anyone else? Yeah, Bob,
yes,
who was the Franciscan father for a while.
I'm sorry.
Go for it.
Yes.
I was just saying, you know a thing or two about communion.
Well, yes, and I think that that it in some places you have to qualify and meet certain expectations and so forth before that you can. You're allowed to do that.
Lunch. I can go to lunch today with a thing of oyster crackers, and I can give the oyster crackers to everyone around the table. I can do
right. But one of the experiences I had that was that when we met as a smaller group is that the communion bread was passed around and each person gave it to the next person in line.
Oh, I like that tradition. That's very
I
nice.
like that.
And
yeah,
and I think that a lot of it all depends upon how the priests or the church is structured in terms of who are the privileged few that are able to do this.
Yeah, that again, to me, that seems, well, that just seems weird. Like, if the whole idea is bringing everyone together, why would you have only certain people allowed to do that? But that's not my question. My question is, did you have the desire to do it? Does it feel good? Is this just like one rabbi's random fantasies about somebody else's tradition? Michael, and then Hugh, and then Derek.
I'm just a little confused. Are you talking about something formally that we can do as a religious thing, or as those day-to-day?
I'm not. No, I meant it more in like have you ever, hey, Michael, have you ever thought, what does it feel like to be pregnant? Hey, Michael, have you ever thought what it would feel like to offer people communion?
Yeah. I ask my clients what it's like all the time when they can't speak. I ask them, so where does it feel stuck? You know, I try to understand their perspective, or when they have trouble swallowing, you know, like where does it stuck, or how do you feel when you're in a restaurant? You know, like that kind of communion, right? Like to really get, or that guy who bugged you in the restaurant, right? I mean, that's a kind of communion too. Is that kind of where you're going? That more mystical?
That was
stuff?
not where I was meaning to go, but that's where the ship seems to be going. So I'll take the trip. Thank you. Let me try for Derek.
Yeah, I was licensed in the Episcopal Church to preach, administer communion, do a number of other things that normally is reserved for a priest. They had what they called lay readers, or well, they call them lay readers. But in any case, as I look back on it now, I think for me, it was just an ego thing. I liked being up front. I liked running the show.
Yeah. I guess, and Hugh, I saw you had your hand up and then you took your hand down. Again, I'm going to do the same thing I did with Kip, which was like, but I wanted to hear from you.
I wasn't quite sure where you're going with the question. You know, when I serve communion to the congregation, I think that, well, any spiritual, any religious ritual is intended, for me, it's not something in and of itself. It's a metaphor. It's something that helps me to think about how this can apply in a broader sense. So when I think about communion, I think about the fact that I'm reminding myself and the people I'm serving that there is nourishment that the Spirit provides, that we provide for one another. It's a metaphor for nourishment, and that there's nothing any more sacred about the elements of communion than about any kind of nourishment, metaphorical or physical, that people offer to one another. So in a symbolic way, I would say, Brian, you are providing communion to the people.
Why I was just thinking the same. I was just thinking the same thing. Is maybe that's what I'm asking. Is I'm saying, hey, look, folks, what I'm getting to do during this service right now is I'm doing a feeding of sorts.
It is because what you're doing is you're helping to nourish us, and for me, that's what's sacred. And so the act of communion, there's nothing any more special about communion in a church than about the communion that happens when people are nourishing each other at coffee hour afterwards, or the right. sharing that people do in this room by offering nourishing thoughts to one another, offering compassion, right. offering hope. For me, the ritual is to help us see that happens everywhere. There's nothing any more special about the ritual.
Perfect. So forget the oyster cracker part. But so let me say it this way: is I would love for each of you to do the same thing, and I'm sure you do. And let's maybe raise it to a little bit more conscious level of let's go out and help to nourish people with the thinking of the guy at the coffee shop let's not nourish them at our own expense or at the expense of the 24-year-old who just lost their brother's expense. But don't be like there was no reason to ever be rude to the man. Go ahead, Betsy. You have your hand up. My goodness, am I enjoying this? Go ahead, Betsy.
Okay, I've got some thoughts in several different directions. One thing I was thinking immediately is of trying to put yourself in someone else's shoes in order to broaden your understanding. That's why I read novels, to put myself in other people's shoes and understand where they're coming from. Right now, I'm reading about a woman who escaped from North Korea. And I mean, you can't get further away from your own experience than that. And I think about you know, it used to be when three of us would carpool to our orchestra rehearsals every Thursday night, and we had kind of a ritual that somebody would always bring a piece of chocolate for the three of us after the thing to reward ourselves for a good thing. That was a communion of sorts.
Right. It's communing. This is a much larger thought than where I thought it was going to be, but it's about communing. It's about sharing in that common part. Sharing, and if nothing else, there's nothing else for us to share in. Let's share in our own humanity. Okay. I'm going to take a breath because shockingly, all of the index cards that I have in front of me are not in the perfect order that they need to be. Let's take a moment and move over to some prayer time with our friend Joe. So soft piano music intro.
Okay. This week we have Greta, Rita, Derek, Betsy Ann Barron, Amy, Carol Good Hansen, Emma, Pat, Vicky, Anton, No, and all the folks that are getting snowed on.
Yeah.
Let's take 1 minute of silence when we get here to 50. Well, thank you for that minute. We're going to start a new after service special room, and the title of which I've been working with Bob for a bit on it, and here's the title that we've come up with for the room for Bob to run. And if it works for us, wonderful. If it doesn't. But you are invited to stick around afterwards for a deep dive discussion. You're invited to stay for share and care, and we're starting a new room called Unresolved Issues with Father Bob, which is a little bit of a Bob, if not everyone knows, was in the Franciscan order for a while, and we thought, there's some unresolved issues that people have either with what was going on here today or with church or religion in general, and Bob seems willing to host that room. So if any of you would like to, and I just thought it was a great title for a room, Unresolved Issues. So everyone is welcome there. I want to make other announcements. I want to thank the Sustainability Committee. I want to thank each of you. We have had more people making donations to keep Religion Outside the Box going. I did listen a bit to AM Christian Talk Radio last week, and boy, those people have no shame in asking for money. And so I thought, let me borrow a little bit from their playbook. Let me thank people for helping and for referring your friends, bringing your friends along. I got an email or two last week. Am I really allowed to share the link for the Saturday service with people? And the answer is, yeah. Worst thing that happens is we have to mute them. But please bring your friends. It's definitely appreciated. My usual announcement, I brought this one with me. Hey, folks, it's okay to not be okay. Sometimes life hands you a pile of shit. Excuse my language. But sometimes you're having a really hard time. And that's okay. It's part of it. We're not all supposed to be. I'm in Los Angeles right now where it's always sunny and everyone's always beautiful. It's not supposed to be like this. It's supposed to have hard times too. Last on the announcement page, on the 17th of December coming up, we're going to be doing a special program. On the 24th of December, I want to ask anyone who's a clergy person in the church capacity, and you can define that for yourselves. But I decided as long as we have a December 24th is a Saturday morning, and I'm planning on meeting, that anyone who's Christian clergy or Christian clergy adjacent who would like to have a 5-minute segment to teach us something about Jesus, and you can pick, you want to do the miracle Jesus, you want to talk historical Jesus. But I thought, you know what, let's take a day and let's learn from people who have a love of Jesus, more about Jesus. What could go wrong there? We'll find out on December 24th. And then January 1st, we start up again. And I'll let you know if that happens. Okay, folks. Golly gee, thank you. This really is so lovely. I'm going to give you your marching orders for this week, which is experiment with kindness. See if you can't come up with some scenario which would be satisfying to you as to why that person did that asshole thing. Come up with some scenario where they actually, he was maybe he was just trying to help, which I could not see due to my anger, due to my vision. And so see if we can't find more places where we can find a way to excuse someone else's behavior. Amen. And last sentences? Yes, Charlene.
Oh, I meant.
Oh,
cool.
Oh, okay. Thumbs up. Sorry.
So what's happening on December 17th?
December 17th. Oh, I was going to ask people, but okay, so you can start preparing yourself now. On December 17th, I want to do something called the Tastiest Cookies. And the Tastiest Cookies goes like this. Bring in a sentence. Bring in 5 sentences. Bring in what tastiest nuggets of cookies that you've been enhanced by, so we can share bits of wisdom. So the 17th of December is going to be Tastiest Cookies. Thank you, Brad. Maria, thank you as always for pitching in. This is a lot going on. And I'm going to stop the recording now. Phew. Okay. We did it.
I'm not sure you did. It still says recording.
Oh, no, I stopped the broadcast. Hold on. You're going to have to host me back so I can stop the recording.
Okay, if I
Please.
host you back, if I open the rooms and then host you back, do we lose the rooms or?
We're going to find out.
Okay, I'm going to open all the rooms. See if this works.
Okay, and I would like to go into poetry if.
Yep, just a second, Betsy.
Hold on, because we're still recording.
Oh.